Yet another installment of Western Alaska Bachelor Aquaponics system. This time I'm going to focus a little more on some of the plants we've done and take you through a bit more of the process of how we selected and why. So just for starters, we were doing some in mini blocks, but actually they didn't work as well because they tended to germinate and then the plants would flop over when I'd grow them into the 2-inch blocks. So I'm now putting the plants directly into these 2-inch blocks. And if you ever get any of these 2-inch blocks, these little block tongs are worth their weight in gold. These little guys are chicory. Actually, that's Catalonia frastigliata, which is a chicory from Europe that's bred for traditional salad greens in Italy and parts of Spain. They look like they're going to be a real champion. This is still our test trial, so we're still working on that. But this is a very reliable green. And it's in the daisy family. A lot of our greens are mustard, and I didn't want to have all of our salad in one plant family in case we had a pest outbreak that took out all the mustards, say, or something like that. So I want to mix daisies, mustards, buckwheats, anything we can get so that we have a more balanced ecosystem, a lot of functional redundancy in our diversity. This guy is an experiment. This is actually Valeriana officinalis, the true medicinal valerian, which you may use as a sedative. I just flat like the smell and look of the stuff, and so in this case, we're producing most of it that will go out in the yard, in the herb garden, but we'll have a little bit also in the high tunnel just to be handy. Because it does make a kind of an interesting, calming, soothing tea. And it does have a very interesting and pleasant aroma in the garden, though some people strongly disagree with how pleasant that thing is. But it's been erratic. It started germinating. These guys, bigger guys, started germinating maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, and it needs light to germinate, so I planted them shallowly. And you still see little guys are still starting to come up, so it's one of those that doesn't always germinate all on cue. But then, you know, that's the way it is, so we just hold them for a while and see, and they will go in. These guys are lemon balm, Melissa officinalis. Anybody who's had lemon balm knows it's just wonderful stuff as an addition to salads, making tea, everything. And so to have a lot of fresh lemon balm is really going to be, in my opinion, a luxury. And again, a different family, the mint family. So we don't want to have all of our eggs in one taxonomic basket. We'll come on around and look at some of the plants. That's my potting area right there. We'll probably have another video when I'm set up to do some potting if you want. Here is our worm compost bin. So we're actually composting all of our garbage, and we're experimenting in this bin with using kelp off the shore. So we thought, you know, seaweed is so expensive if you get seaweed additive, and we've got it washed up by the truckload on the shore. So why not see if we can make compost out of seaweed? And so far our little red wiggler worms are doing great living off kelp. And then I collect the drippings down here, and that goes right into the potting soil. See, good compost drippings, worm drippings. You gardeners know that's like liquid gold. So the water comes in here, hits a gravel filter with maximum surface area for the microbe, but wasting no space. We have our watercress, which of course is a big favorite of mine, and a little bit of duckweed. You can't see it out here. Well, there's a teeny weeny little piece of it, Limna minor. It's a little floater, the world's smallest flowering plant. And it's really, our ducks love it. We're a little bit low right now because we've just been moving it around, and the ducks have eaten so much. I've just skim it off in the morning and put it in their water, and it's gone in less than 5 minutes. It's excellent for our baby ducks. And then one other thing we have here, a little water lettuce, pistia. So some other floating plants just to suck up, especially the excess ammonia that's in the system right now. And it's just coming along as a little baby. And of course, what garden would be without mint? So I've got 4 different kinds of mints. These are cuttings of spearmint. I potted the spearmint today and took these cuttings, and these cuttings will be planted and taken out in the yard. Here's an apple mint here, another apple mint here. I've also got pineapple mint and peppermint. And then our yerba mansa, which has a wonderful antiseptic root, but I just flat like the look of it. It's flourishing here under the light. And then another plant just for fun, hydrocotyle, water penny, in case the watercress doesn't do well on the gravel. This guy will root right into the gravel, you can see, and be a backup in terms of taking up nutrients and oxygenating a little bit down into the gravel for the microbes. So moving on down, the water keeps going. These are the plants that have been in longest. And we were trying a lot of different stuff. We just tried ones and twos of this or this and that. This is dragon tongue mustard, one of the brassicas. It's got a really nice flavor. And then this is one of our favorites, which is French sorrel here. It, again, sour, but I like it. And then Lacinato kale, which here is running $3.50, $4 a bunch in the grocery store. It's pretty good. And then we're trying a few carrots. We just tried our first carrot. It was about that big. It tasted good, but they haven't had time to mature yet, although we're looking forward to it. And of course, one of my favorites, Italian parsley. It took a while to get started, but now it's doing really well. And this one will probably move out into a flower bed. And another plant that I mentioned in a previous video, the red sorrel. So we have both French sorrel, which is, this one is, oh I forget, Rumex hastata I think. And this is Rumex sanguineus. Sanguineus because it looks like it's got blood veins all through it, or sanguine. And then we tried a couple of things. This little Japanese Salsola, it hasn't done very well, probably because it just doesn't grow as fast as the other things and got shaded out. And then our spinach was twice as tall, but we keep topping it and eating it, so the spinach is coming along really, really well for us. And then we've got Swiss chard here, which is doing very well. We're ready to start harvesting leaves on this. And then here's a larger example of that Japanese saltweed, Salsola. It's pretty good, but not as flavorful as you might guess, but it has a very interesting texture to eat. The neat thing about this is I was kind of struck because Salsola, it actually is a relative in the same genus as the tumbleweed that grows all over the western United States. But this is actually pretty tasty and very, very mild and gentle flavor. Now our big mistake was this kohlrabi, because it'll swell up and you'll make this wonderful swollen stem. Any of you have had kohlrabi, it's really good. I love to put it in kimchi. And I read that it does well in aquaponics. Well, it does. But as you can see, it has these enormous leaves while we're waiting for the swollen stem to develop. And in the meantime, it shades out everything. So these guys are going to get separated because they're suppressing everything around them. And in my two-pot system with a principal, it's the principal. The secondary is this wonderful thing called buckhorn plantain. Minutina is another name for it. Plantago coronopus. It's from salt marshes around Europe, and it grows as a cold weather salad. Bo doesn't like it too much, but I really like it, and the ducks love it. Then, coming through here, we've got tatsoi, which is an oriental member of the mustard family, which is really good. A very mild flavor. And then to offset that, we've got this lepidium, this wonderful wrinkled crinkle cress, which looks like parsley, but actually tastes a lot like arugula. Now you can see here, we planted out a kind of a jungle of lacinato kale with a bunch of other plants underneath it, including parsley and miner's lettuce. And I've got my little seedling chives here because they're going to take a while to grow big enough to use, so I figured why waste space? We'll just grow them as an undersowed kind of with a kale, and when the kale comes out, then these can be transplanted where they'll do better. And then as you see, the plants are getting shorter. The first ones were potted 6 weeks ago. These were potted about 3 weeks ago, moved into these pots here from the soil cubes, soil blocks. And as you can see, our arugula is starting to bolt. But it's pretty strong. But Bo and I really love the kind of peppery flavor and the sweetness of those arugula flowers coming in. Here's one right here. See, you can get these bunches just before the flowers start to open like that. They're both spicy and really good. And then we've got more kohlrabi with some cress underneath it. Then top soy and a little cute little thing called corn salad, which is very cold tolerant. And then down here, another gravel filter where it's being oxygenated by dripping in. And then lots of duckweed. And then a larger sort of related thing called frogbit is the common name of it. And then of course wasting no space that I can grow watercress, another bunch of watercress. Then tot soy. The arugula here is kind of sickly. I don't know what we did wrong. Some of it has been kind of sick and others are bolting. But the celery with tuberous roots is doing really well. It's coming along nicely. Here's a really good one right there. And that actually will have a root about as big as my fist in about 2-3 months or so. And then coming on through, we've got tot soy and arugula as our primary plants here for early harvest, but growing among them is this lovage, which is a sort of a medicinal and salad herb here, another member of the celery family, and it'll be grown on to use in our herb garden outdoors and maybe harvest a little bit. We'll try it in here if it does well. So we've got a mixture of different mustard type things and lovage here. Then coming right on through, we've got a little bit of young, late starting red-veined sorrel. And then we're getting into the stuff that we just did this week. So tot soy with little seedlings of orach, Atriplex hortensis, which we're just experimenting with. We'll see if we can get them. And then here is more tot soy and a little thing called salad burnet, Sanguisorba minor. It's actually in the rose family. Leaves taste like cucumbers. I like it a lot. So we're just putting a few of those in, and then the shungiku here, which is an edible edible chrysanthemum developed and used by the Japanese. And then just right here in the sort of catch-all area, some mint. Our big mints are back here in the 2-gallon pots. We've got peppermint, spearmint, this spearmint right here, pineapple mint and peppermint in areas that are too far for us to reach to harvest. So those mints are there and we can sort of reach over and trim them off. And then just for fun, I picked up a couple of seeds of the true marshmallow, Alcea officinalis, which is the original source of the marshmallow confection. You can eat the edible roots. Seemed like, again, in our little artificial marsh, we just try it out for fun and see. And it'll probably go outside in one of our outside wetlands when we're done. So that's what's going on in the aquaponics world right now. Thank you.